Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Alright guys, this week is turning up to be a solid week for us. A lot of winners today and there was one loser that we got chopped off. We'll talk about that as well. Before I start, let's do a quick introduction. These recaps and teachings are from the trade ideas, the trades I take or the trades I'm not taking, but any trades that traders in my community are taking, or I'm guiding them through any trade ideas that I share on Twitter, any trade ideas I share with you guys on YouTube. So we try to see how we made money, how we lost money, and we try to learn from those and try to make journal those trades for our repeatable setups. I do not trade anything random. I do not teach anything random. I trade with a fixed system. We trade with a fixed system, fixed setups which we repeat again and again and again. These are the systems and strategies that I've been showing on Twitter live for many years, and I've been teaching and thousands of traders who have been consistent with these systems and setups for trading, investing, swing trading, day trading, all that. So every morning my team, we are up early, we create a game plan for our community which you see in front of us. We create support resistance levels, we have an initial bias, and we try to see how we're going to trade it. This morning, LRCX, Lilly, LI, JD, Newton, XPEW, Zoom, Macy's, XPEV, low were a bunch of the trades on the game plan, and most of them were winners, except Zoom, which kind of chopped us out. We'll talk about that as well. And in additionally, we also provide what we call as daily levels. So we provide these daily levels. For example, these are the levels on SPY, QQQ, Netflix, Boeing, Amazon, Meta, Tesla. Tesla was a great from these levels. We'll discuss even SMCI from these levels worked out for us. These are support and resistance pivots which we create in the morning, so traders can use these, and you can pause the screen, actually read how my EMA Cloud system works, and we traders can use that to trade on their own to make high probability setting trades, because our focus is to win big, lose small, win consistently. Whenever we lose, keep the loser small. And in addition to that, I also have a strategy which I did a free webinar on Twitter a few days back. This is called my Ripster Day 2, Day 3 plays. The Day 2, Day 3 plays, JPM was a nice winner on the Day 2, Day 3. We also had Wix on a Day 2, Day 3. So we will recap those plays as well. Anything that triggers in the community, I share with the community. I try to guide them. I can't see everything, but I still try to keep eyes on most of the stuff. IBM from our day to day 3 list and our swing winner, we will discuss that as well. All right. And initially, we also provide our crypto levels. Right? Yesterday, these crypto levels really helped us to nail coin, MSTRs, and among other Bitcoin plays. So that was the introduction, guys. Let's start with the first play of the day. So the first play we're going to discuss is PANW. So PANW. So what was the plan on PANW? Let's look at our game plan. So PANW had earnings today. They beat the earnings by 7 cents, but they were gapping down, right? So PANW was gapping down, was selling off on the weakness. So I told everybody in the pre-market plan, only long if clouds plus the pivots hold. So only long if clouds hold, right, and trade versus 300. The plan was simple, pretty straightforward plan. And we had 300, 301, and 305.30, and the guidance was spot on, I believe, today. And let's look at how we traded. These kind of the trades is that make your whole week, guys. You hold with confidence and you trade with confidence and you let it work. I even tweeted in the morning for everybody, PNW and 300 psychological level. Trade with 300 psychological level. I've been teaching my psychological level teachings for a long time. Most of my followers know that. But so as soon as the market opens, if you see here, and we were waiting, I was waiting for confirmation. I wanted to see 300 hold, and when 300 held, that's when I told everybody long risk is 300, risk is under the cloud. The confirmation will be 305.40. The breakout of 305.40 will confirm this gap fill trade. My initial target was 310. We met that. My second target was 315, and we'll talk about that. So you see, we had multiple trades on PANW. My initial trade on 3W, I was in the lotos, which went. This one ended up going 100%, and then I also had 310 calls, which ended up going 100% as well. These were the my snapshot from the morning, and not only that, if you took the shares at 304s, 303s, risking $3 4, by the end of the day you made $15 $16. There's one risk to five reward, 4 5 reward kind of trade, right? So you can see that MPN and W, and it went on to fill most of the gap, not complete gap, but most of the gap. And you see it never really broke down of 512 EMA clouds. Ripster EMA clouds held all the way. So you see this breakout here, and this was the retest of the breakout, retest. So this is very important. And then all day PNW rallied for us, big trade. So you see that, right? We met that almost complete gap fill. So that was the guidance in the community. And but I want to show you something else as well. So let's see, if I was in PNW, I already showed you those time stamped guidance, and then PNW broke this 512 EMA clouds right here. That's where I told everyone that make sure you get out. And it's also like a 512 B minus short. So I sent this alert here, PANW breaking 512's exit, right? There was my alert right here. And then from that alert, it faded like $4. And that was a nice trade on the puts as well. They went 30 or 40%. And that was a short trade. So you see how EMA clouds let you long and then do a B minus short trade, right? So if you were trading with the options, if you could easily risking 500, you make 2 3 grand today. So this is the kind of trades where you grow your account. And beautiful trade. And this guy, we'll talk about Tesla as well. And most of the community did really good on PANW. All day hold. That's why I tell everybody hold. And Macha had a great day on PANW. Michael Ferreira even shorted it later in the day, right? So PNW was, the community was all all happy. We were doing solid on these setups. You don't get such setups again and again, but when you do, you make sure you hit those setups, right? Because these are the consistent setups. Crazy had 100% calls, right? Calm Trader had 100% calls. You see the whole community with the proper guidance executing themselves. I'm just teaching the setups. I'm showing what I have done over the years, but everybody is executing. So that's the beauty of our community. Even on Twitter, I try to teach everyone who follow me. So a lot of traders really did good on PNW. Very proud of this trade, our number one trade today. So next trade we're going to talk about now is Tesla, right? So let's go back and see what was happening with Tesla. What was going on with Tesla today? So Tesla had some news today. It was on our game plan. Tesla shareholders are asked to reject Elon's pay package or whatever, right? So, but anyways, Tesla, we always have our levels clearly defined in the pre-market. These were our levels: 175, 175.83. So Tesla, when I was on voice, I told everybody that Tesla is strong today because it was breaking out of this 1 hour downtrend line. You see here, downtrend line, one touch, two touch, three touch, four touch, and today breakout. So that was a pattern trading, right? So, and it also broke out of the levels that I just showed you. It's breaking out of those levels as well. So I told everybody in the morning on the voice that Tesla is a good long. So let's see. I even showed this setup to my Twitter followers as well, what was going on with Tesla this morning. So let's see how that panned out for us. So let's go back, easier to show here to you guys. So let's see if I go here. So okay, so you see that, right? This is our pivot levels. This is where we are breaking out. 1 hour chart. I'm not using 5 minute or 3 minute. I don't care. I want to look at the bigger time frame. Bigger the time frame, better you hold, better the trend. So nice push on the voice, as I mentioned on the voice. First target I gave 179, 179.50. That target met. Second target met was 180, 180. Even that target met. It's funny, right? Tesla kept going because there was no reason to completely get out. It was meeting every target that I gave. Tesla 180, 180 target met. Then my next target was 184. 20. How do I get these targets? I go to the daily chart, I look at the resistances, and based upon those I give those targets, right? So 184, 820 target met as well. So all day runner, and you see there is a breakout. I even talked about breakout, flag breakout, initial rejection on the yesterday's highs. Then it was a flag breakout. So we were breaking out of the flag. I mentioned that flag in the community on Tesla. So we broke out of that flag, and to make the next leg up right here, this is when I told everybody, and I told everybody, the continuous guidance to lock on the way, 180, 85, 86. If you are trading shares, you take all your shares off, and then you use that to trade the options. You go into 180 options. They go 50, 100%. You lock profit, take the profit, go into 180, 250 or 185 options. You just keep trading those, rolling that profit. From my initial call, it ran 10, 11 bucks. So that was a huge trade. Definite between this and PNW, really traders did really good. You can see this trader here. He made 10 years of our community membership. I'm not just showing you that, but the point is that he's saying that my problem was not letting the winners run, and today I let the winners run, because you have to give yourself, you have to surrender to the system. Only then can you win consistently. If you cut here, you lost all the profits. If you cut here, you add back, you hold all day. There was not a single reason to cut completely Tesla today, because Tesla held the Ripster EMA Cloud all day long without breaking it. So beautiful trade on Tesla today. Very well done in community. It was just amazing. So you see a lot of traders were in and out of Tesla. Yakshu, Prakash, everybody in the community was on Tesla today. So beautiful trade. This and PNW really made our day today in the community. Also, I forgot to mention that Tesla had this daily chart range breakout, right? You can see here. So that's how we traded Tesla. Amazing trade in the community. Let's look at the next one. Next one is from my day 2 day 3 strategy. The next one is JP Morgan. You know how we shorted JP Morgan yesterday for nice gain and nice green day. So let's talk about JP Morgan. So what was the plan on JP Morgan today? So JP Morgan, right on my day 2 day 3 sheet, the top play, support 195.40, resistance 197.50, and 200. So these were the clouds, and this was the level, and once it pushed over the clouds, there was a confirmed long. That's when I told everybody long, risk 196.70 or the cloud. So 196.70, this was the risk, or it was a cloud. So it was working nicely initially in the first 10 a.m. trade for us. My first target was 200, and it did push to 200. You can see my timestamped guidance, right? We did push to 200 here, but then there was a seller around this area. So you can clearly see the seller around this area. So we had to take a profit. We had to take the profit on most of our position. When it for 512 was breaking down, I told everybody that it is going to pull back on to 34.50. So morning trade, a winning trade. Then there was a setup that was a midday setup. I personally could not capitalize on that one, but it's a repeatable setup. A lot of the traders in the community did that setup. Very proud of that. Ahmed was on it all day. So people in the community, we know that there's a setup, right? This is a midday setup. I cover this setup in my midday webinar. So you see how it's breaking down. You don't enter here. If you want to enter, I already gave you these levels, right? So you have that risk, but you enter here when you see this candle curling and this downtrend line breaking down, and then you take the long. Your stops are right here, and your size is according to that stop, right? 198, the stop is like 50 cents, maybe, not even more. And then we push back up. Look at that midday curl on JP Morgan morning setup midday call. There was not enough for the short because I only short if there is enough big range between 512 and 3450, but there was not a big range, so there was okay. So this morning setup and then this midday setup, and finally by end of the day my 200 target met. Well, I was short 10 cents, but we get the point. The big push, day two, stress free setup. If you held on with my morning risk levels, you did really good on a JP Morgan today as well. Really, really nice trade on JP Morgan. Next one we're going to talk about IBM. So IBM, as you who are not in part of my community but have been watching my, you guys have been watching my my past videos. I have been talking about IBM every day. Every day I talk about IBM, right? So if today it was IBM was also on our game plan, 170.53 was our resistance pivot, swing trade, and also versus the clouds, right? It was already a swing trade, so I can show you that. So it was already our big swing trade. If I go to my swing tracker, so it was already our swing trade, that we entered at 165s. So let's see, and it was already paying. So I told everybody I was not personally trading it, I was holding it in swing trade. I told everybody it's our swing long today. Already gave the game plan in the pre-market, that this is your breakout, and IBM is just the same setup. Why I was swing? Because I like the company, and because it was, you see that how it was curling, and it was curling over 512 EMA clouds. It was pushing towards the gap. It filled the one gap and pushed to the other gap, and so that's why I was liked it, right? So and that's why I had every day on my day 2 day 3 watch list. Every day I have, you can see even here IBM is on my day 2 day 3 watch list. Not only that, IBM was also on a news play. So high probability setup. IBM paid us very nicely, went on to push from that breakout all the way to 174.97. I personally didn't take any profit, but I told my community you can move your stops up, take some off, up to you. But I really like IBM. We'll be watching tomorrow again. So big winner for us, and I think I did put a tweet out as well for my Twitter followers on this swing trade. So IBM was a nice winner for us. Already hit $10 and a risk of 1 to 2 reward on the swing if you were just on the shares. But it was a nice breakout of this level on IBM. Every day it pays us. So let's talk about a loser on ULTA, right? So let's talk about a loser on ULTA. That was also a swing for us. So we took the swing when I saw this, that ULTA is turning bullish on the 1 hour chart. That's when I took the swing here. And when it reclaimed 400, it gave me a little more confidence. And we did hit like 410, right? We added at 395, 396s, and we were profitable, right? I did a little mistake that I did not watch the 400 breakdown, but yesterday when it was breaking down towards our long price, we were adding at 395s. That's when I told everybody that it's breaking down. We cut it, and 1390 told everybody to cut it. So, and if we did not cut yesterday, and we would have lost another $10 per share today, right? So you see that how the swing was moving, breaks the 1 hour Ripster clouds, breaks the 400 psychological level, voiding our play. So this one I could have had a break even stops, which I did not. Frankly, I missed the alerts, because I would have liked to stop out right at my entry around 395s, not at 390s or 389s. But anyways, that was a loser, but we do not let the loser go big. Planned as per the plan, risk reward, we move on, and not interested in ULTA anymore. We'll see what it does. Earnings coming up on ULTA. So nice recap of a swing loser trade. Let's talk about Zoom now. So Zoom was, it was one of those trades which kind of too much wiki action. You don't see that too much, right? But again, amateur move, and it gave back. It's example of the amateur move we often talk about. If you waited even after amateur move, it turned bearish, and then it turned bullish after 10 a.m., right? So after 10 a.m., if you traded after 10 a.m., that would be, you would have done better. I did make back some of the loss. Let's look at it. So how did we trade Zoom? So let's look at it. So I long Zoom versus 68 to 8.62.80. Nice push at the open. Not bad. Was pushing nicely for us, and we did push to 65, right? But then it came back. And I was expecting a hold of the cloud, so I added some shares. You can see here I added some shares, 63, 62, and I was expecting I added more calls, and my initial calls were actually profitable, right? So I took them off, but I added more calls. I added 60, 64, so you can see they were profitable. I was up 30%. But then when this is happening, I stopped out, right? I mean, I just need to manage my risk because it could easily go to 62. And then I saw it reclaiming the cloud. I could have re-entered here, but this candle kind of, I hesitated, because if I had re-entered right here with my stops here, I would have made all my money back. I did re-enter finally. Here I entered into another 65 calls again. They went to 35% again for me. So I was able to recover that loss, some of the loss. So if you only took the trade after 10 a.m., you made some money. But in the morning, it was a definitely loser, and it's a part of game, right? This loser cannot wipe off our another five winners. So so you see that. I mean, I was entry was 63, 62. I cut for less than $1. That's fine, no big deal. And later I was made some back on the options, and you see I made 35% there. But anyway, so Zoom was a loser trade in the morning, and rest of the day it was just up and down. I could have shorted it here when it was breaking this 512s. I could have shorted that setup later in the day as well. But anyways, so that was our trade on the Zoom. Let's move to the next one. Next one was our Macy's short in the morning. So let's see what was the plan on Macy's. So Macy's had an earnings neutral to bullish, trade versus the cloud. Short was under the support was 1880. So when it was breaking the clouds here, that's when I told everybody you can watch the pops, short Macy. And then Macy was a nice short, right? Once it broke down here from 19 to fade, 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 and it faded, right? Decent fade, decent 50-cent fade on Macy was a nice short then. But then Macy tried to base, and I told everybody cover the shorts when it's curling over 512s. Rejected once, was heavy, then it reclaimed clouds, and then it pushed back again. So there was definitely a long trade here on Macy's. I didn't personally take it, I didn't even look at it later, but there was a definitely nice long on Macy's over this 512 reversal, and then it pushes over higher. So next one we're going to look at is Boeing. So Boeing this morning was short for us. Let's go back to our game plan. So Boeing in morning had a bad news. Singapore Airlines, the flight emergency landing. Basically, it's a bad news. Usually Boeing has been absorbing all the bad news, but there's bad news every day. So anyways, the level on Boeing was 186, 185.38. And once that was breaking down, that's what I told everybody. Short scalp the bounces. Target is 183. 183 target coming, and look at that, right? So you see 9:30 is where I told everybody, and by 10 a.m. we hit the 183 target, and you see the low of the day was 183.11. So right where my target was. And once it started to bounce, this is a morning 9:30 to 10 a.m. trade. You should cover most of your long shorts and just cut it, right? And then yes, it pushed higher, failed once, reclaimed again, and pushed higher again after this little cup and handle. So you watch this, right? So this is a a nice this is nice cup and handle there created by man, I hate this trading view charting has been messed up lately. Why does it always auto set my trend lines? Anyway, so that was a nice cup and handle for reversal, but we were on the short on the Boeing in the morning. So next one we're going to cover is Lowe's. Basically it was the Lowe's company, competitor Home Depot, and Lowe's had earnings. They beat estimates, the sales beat estimates, but it was bearish to neutral. I told everyone if breaks 512 can be B minus short, and that's what happened. Breaks 512s, breaks 3450, all day short, and that's what I told everybody. Lows is a short as per the game plan, still bearish, and low faded all the way from 231s to 221s, a $10 fade. If you miss the initial, you hit the bounce and you fade it all the day to the low of the days, right? So you can see my guidance here on lows. 220 was my target. We did not meet it, but still it was a nice fade. Even if you were late, you did get like $5-6 short on this trade. Let's look at Lily. Lily was just a morning trade. After that, it was a morning push on Lily. We had some news, so nice long there, and that's what I told in the game plan. Bullish versus the cloud. 790 was the breakout. It already broke out of 790, and then it breaks out of 800. So that was a trade versus the 800 towards the 820 target, and then it hit 816, but then it started to get heavy. So I warned everybody right here that it's going to pull back. It did bounce once, but then pulled back again. So the main trade was only in the morning. After that, it just went sideways. We'll watch it tomorrow as well. The next trade on our watch list was LRCX. So LRCX was, LRCX was had a news 10 to 1 stock split, $10 billion share buyback. It was close to $1,000 huge resistance, right? It's not easy to cross $1,000. So I already told everybody for the B minus break or a short, 975 was the downside support, and that's what happened, right? Exactly as per our game plan, it started to fail right at the open. So I told everybody B minus short, and then it flushed. 975 gave up, 955 gave up, and then it hit 941s, right? And then that was again morning 10 a.m. short. I told everybody 940. By 10 a.m. we were hitting 945s. So then it started to base. I told everybody it's curling, do not short, and then it gave a nice long here, and I told everybody long. There was alert here. I can show you here. Here's the alert. 958 pushing over the bullish clouds, and then it pushed into 966. Right. So you see the short was not like all day fade, because when you don't see this level is holding and then pushing, then so you should just cut here. This candle is where you should cut, or you can wait for 512s, or you can cut here. But if your entry is late, then you lose a lot of money. If your entry is in the morning, then you can wait for this area to cut. Anyways, there was this long idea that I gave everybody, and then it gave some nice long scalp. We'll watch it tomorrow for day. So let's talk about XPEV. XPEV was another one which was only a morning trade because it went into $10 psychological level. So let's look at XPEV. So XPEV was beat stop line and bottom line estimates, neutral versus 860, 850. The breakout is over 920. So when I saw that breakout and bullishness, I saw the strength in first 3 minutes. I told everybody to long watch pullbacks, because of course I don't know everybody to want to slap the highs, but it kept on breaking out from that 920 breakout, and the target on that was 1010, and it hit the 10 target, right? And 10 target had hit, and that's where you're supposed to lock it, and then it gave up, and then you definitely get out. It's fine, not a big trade, but you don't need to hold when it's breaking this 512 EMA clouds. So I told everybody 512 breaks, there's a no long 10 psychological level, and it was a good C minus short as well versus 10, because 10, 100, 1000, these levels are not easy to break. I often cover this concept, and you saw that in LRCX, you saw the 10 in XPEV. Many times we short versus 100, and then it broke down. Since I gave this warning, it faded from 920 all the way to 860. You could have done a B minus short here with a 10-minute 512 breakdown as well. So very ugly daily chart though. Was a nice long trade, but of course if you chased, then you would have lost. But you can see my guidance, I was very timely there. So let's look at Netflix today. Netflix was definitely strong. It was over our pivots that I gave here in the pre-market. You can see my Netflix pivot, 641, 644. And then, I saw the strength in the morning on Netflix. So I told everybody it's breaking out, or yesterday's highs, good long as well, because it was a relative strength. And you could see that Netflix was also a daily breakout. So if you go back, it's like, going towards all-time highs, but it was a nice daily breakout. Here it was yesterday daily breakout, and it was a today daily breakout, right? So you see those breakouts, and held the 3450 EMA clouds. If you long here, there, when the clouds are too close, you can hold for 3450, and it went on to ramp all day. So Netflix was a nice trade for our community as well. People were trading Netflix all day. You see that Steve, Raga, a lot of those traders were trading Netflix all day. So beautiful trade in the community, Netflix. Let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to talk about is VIX, right? So VIX. So what was the plan on VIX? VIX was a day too long, right? I mean, we talked about length on the VIX yesterday. Exactly the setup I talk about, pulling back to the clouds, breaking over yesterday's highs. If you watch my earning webinar, if you watch my day to day 3 webinar, VIX was a simple long, and I did give the VIX levels 170, 165. All those levels I gave for traders to trade, and you could easily trade in the morning, even for if you laid 168 to $5-6 profit, risking $2-3. It was a nice trade, and you see that it's a post earning trade. It's actually a nice swing as well. All right, let's close the recap with SMCI. SMCI was just amazing. Initially, it was bearish, so I told everybody to avoid the SMCI. But then it started to turn bullish. Right? And then I told everybody it's bullish now, and a lot of the traders on the floor called out the guidance versus 900, SMCI versus 900. Tony was on top of it, Sid was on top of it, Madge was on top of it. Initially it was a short, right? But when it curls over 512, it's not a short, then it becomes a long. Your risk I gave everybody was 890, so I think that's what I gave. Let me see if I have it here for you guys. I don't know if I see here, but I was on the voice, so that was the risk. And the target I gave everybody was 940. Look here, 940. Where did we hit? 939.94, 6 cents short of my target. I guided all the way to 940, and once it reject 512 break, and it faded all the back to 900, 900 to 940, 940 back to 900. You could trade it both ways. So beautiful trade. SMCI running into the Nvidia earnings tomorrow, going to be fun tomorrow. All right guys, see you later. Thanks for watching my video. If you are interested to join my community, we are running a Memorial Day weekend promo, which you can find it in the description. See you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.